Around a week ago, Dying Light 2 received its biggest update that changed the nighttime completely, and because I'm a bit late, I decided to not only talk about the new features of this update, but also compare Dying Light nights to its sequel in order to find out, are they really scarier? The old nighttime sequence in Dying Light was very slow paced, as by being on top of the roofs, you could completely avoid getting spotted for the entirety of the night. In addition to this, the first two stages of the chase were a complete joke, as only virus would spawn, and only after chase level 3, volatiles started to join the hunt. This was horrible compared to the scary and fast-paced night chase of Dying Light 1, but as I already said, a week ago, the Good Night Good Luck update was released and made nights to be more similar to the ones from Dying Light. But did it achieve the same effect, and most importantly, are Dying Light 2 nights actually scarier than the ones in its predecessor? So today I'll try and find this out using a variety of all sorts of different factors. And first, let's talk about the basics of the night chase in Dying Light, and why exactly does it work so well. Once the clock strikes 9 PM, the night in Dying Light begins. During this period of time, the number of biters on the street is significantly lowered, but that's because regular zombies are now replaced with volatiles that patrol the streets of Haran. Of course, because of this increased risk, all the experience points you get are doubled. But if one of these volatiles spots you, they will immediately notify other volatiles of the players present and initiate the chase. The chase itself is divided into 4 different levels. With each level, the number of volatile chasing the player will increase. And of course, because of the increasing number of enemies, it is much harder to lose a level 4 chase than a level 1. Now, all of this on its own sounds quite scary, but this is not the real reason why nights in Dying Light are so intense. The fear of night chases and volatiles doesn't come from the idea that volatiles are scary, but more from the idea of you losing something if you fail. You see, in Dying Light, no matter what level you are, if you die, you will lose a portion of your survival XP or lose all of your legendary level XP. And this is the reason why night chases in Dying Light are so scary. It's because you have something to lose. When running away from volatiles, you understand that one misstep, one small mistake can lead to losing hours upon hours of progress in a specific skill tree. But in Dying Light 2, this system was reworked, as now upon death you will not lose any experience points whatsoever. Of course, if you die during nighttime, you will lose all the bonus experience points that were awarded to you with the 1.5 experience bonus multiplier, but usually this amount of experience is really small and you can get it back by playing the game for a couple of minutes, while in Dying Light you are losing a severe portion of your progress. So in terms of the overall punishment for failing, I would have awarded this point to the first game if not for the legendary levels in the sequel. Because if you die in Dying Light 2, you will lose around 70% of all your legend level XP. Of course, this is much less than in the prequel when you lose all of your XP, but this is actually a more severe punishment, as Dying Light 2 does not feature any humanitarian packages that you could easily farm to get a lot of XP. But this will be much quicker than what we have in the sequel, so Dying Light 2 gets a point for this one. Second, we have the different types of enemies that have a significant impact during nighttime, and the chase itself. First of all, we have the well-known volatiles that have changed quite a bit in the sequel, as now there aren't any alpha volatiles, and while it might seem like a downside, it actually isn't, because regular volatiles in Dying Light 2 are much stronger than the alpha volatile from Dying Light, not only because they have increased health and damage, but also because the player doesn't have the means to defeat the volatiles. Because in the previous game, after reaching a specific point, you could easily defeat any volatile with your 8000 damage shotgun, and now you were hunting the volatiles. But in Dying Light 2, this never happens, as the Night Hunters are always stronger than you, and this ties really well into the themes that the game is trying to present, because Dying Light 2 divides the day into two sections. The day is the time of the humans. This is when you can find the majority of NPCs outside, and your biggest threats are usually simple bandits, while zombies are hiding inside buildings. But the nighttime is the realm of infected, and now on the streets you can not only find volatiles but also demolishers, goons, banshees and other special infected. When during daytime a zombie was approaching you, he was invading your territory, but now it's the complete opposite. You are the prey and you will stay like it even until the very end of the game, because even maxed out crossbows can't do anything to volatiles. And this is what I find really great in Dying Light 2 Night system, as it really portrays the evolution of infected and how they are taking over this world, as now the only thing you can do is run away from them, because even overpowered glitch weapons no longer one-shot them anymore. But despite all of that, I had to admit that the feeling that danger can be at any corner is realized much better in Dying Light, and that's because of Night Walkers. You see, whenever you're on the streets of Haran, at night biters pose a genuine threat to you, as they can not only make a lot of noise to attract nearby volatiles, but they can also mutate into a night walker, which will immediately initiate a chase. And this was also yet another key factor to making the nights way more scarier, as now every zombie you encounter is like a ticking time bomb ready to explode at any moment. This not only makes you spend less time in one location around biters, but it also makes you fear the most basic and weakest enemy in the entire game, which I really like. Now in Dying Light 2, some special infected like virals and banshees can scream when they die to make some noise, but it is much more unlikely. Dying Light has much more possibilities and different ways to be detected, but the sequel somewhat compensates that by making volatiles not blind and allowing them to spot you from afar, and because of that, losing a level 1 chase is much harder in Dying Light 2 than in its predecessor. And while we are on the topic of losing the chase, I think it is important to talk about the environment during the hunt. Volatiles are much faster than the player, and if you try and run away from them when you're on the ground level, you will most likely die, and that's where the parkour system takes a very important role, as running around rooftops is the only way to get away from the danger. Despite the changes brought to the parkour system in Dying Light 2, it still feels quite floaty and not as realistic as in the first game, but this does not mean that it's bad, as the parkour system in the sequel offers a gigantic amount of possibilities on how to traverse the city. First of all, you have lots of new obstacles that you can use to your advantage, such as monkey bars and ropes alongside your grappling hook that give you a huge boost if you perform a kick. The various parkour skills are also very useful, some of which allow you to jump super high, run on walls, or even perform a long jump. In fact, I got used to this skill so much that I tried using it in Dying Light. But both of these games have their get out of jail free card that give you a major boost if you're getting chased. In the case of Dying Light, it's the grappling hook, and in the sequel, it's the paraglider. Both of these two allow you to nearly instantly lose the chase if you so choose. And I can definitely say that the paraglider is much more efficient than the hook, because it allows you to travel from one skyscraper to another in the central loop. And because of that, it is very easy to get rid of the chase in those locations. Actually, while getting the footage for this video, I had to backtrack many times to get spotted again just to continue the chase. Another very important part of the environment are the sound effects. Now, during normal gameplay, the sound effects during a night chase not only contribute to the overall atmosphere, but when you play without the HUD, they can actually give you a lot of info about what's going on. Dying Light has much more overall noise, with doors being broken, manholes open, and bikers transforming. This creates a more scary atmosphere as you hear the horrors behind you, but you can't really see them. In terms of sounds in Dying Light 2, there aren't much, but I really like the new remixes of each of the chase themes, as I think they are more fitting. It is also very nice that you have a specific theme for each of the chase levels, and that with each new stage, the intensity and brutality of the tracks increase. It really shows that you are in great danger and helps figuring out how bad things are without looking at the HUD. The final theme I want to talk about are nighttime activities, because despite there not being any changes done to them directly, the volatiles affect random events quite importantly. In Dying Light, we had only 2 nighttime activities, this being bolters, which will always result in a chase, and airdrops that will spawn around midnight and that we could loot completely for free without the fear of someone else taking it. But in Dying Light 2, this has changed completely, as now there are many different random events during nighttime. And while I like the special golden boss encounters that spawn only during nighttime and give you a legendary weapon for defeating them, it certainly feels less balanced in terms of the new update, because while fighting them, you can very easily get spotted by volatiles. But this actually makes these boss fights way more scarier, as now you have to always check your surroundings to see if there are any volatiles nearby. Although what I don't like is that if you attack a volatile that have been spawned by a random event, they will not initiate a chase, whether it's a golden volatile or the one spawned by a hive random event, they will never trigger the chase on their own. And I really don't like that, especially in the case of volatile hives, as they're supposed to be the birthplace of volatiles and thus need to have the best protection ever. Although I'm not going to go into too much detail talking about why hives in Dying Light 2 are awful compared to Dying Light, as I want to make a separate video where I compare every single aspect of the 2 games. But for my final verdict, I think that I still prefer Dying Light night system more. Sure, Dying Light 2 nighttime is quite scary and getting pretty close to its predecessor, but there are still some key features that are completely missing, like night walkers for instance. So that was all. Thank you everyone for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day.